A heated argument breaks out in the Boy Meets World, the spinoff, Pod Meets World podcast. Bitcoin is doing pretty shaky right now. Dan Crenshaw caught in a hot mic moment. Lester Holt has stepped down and Reid is out. My name is Brandon Fogal. This is Evolution. Let's dive into it. So we're going to take a couple looks. I wanted to start off with Bitcoin. It's been up and down lately. Actually, Bitcoin it's going down. Just right now, it's at the just under $90,000 mark, which is, we talked about a few years back, and that would have seemed pretty astronomical. I think Bitcoin is going to plummet. I am not a financial advisor, but we have seen that Bitcoin shoots up and then it crashes. But the trend is always going upward for Bitcoin. So I am extremely hesitant. I would not sell any Bitcoin whatsoever. My heart is a little more shaky itself in putting all reliance on Bitcoin, but I also know Bitcoin is the future, but maybe the distant future. But I'm of the opinion, if you have Bitcoin, hold the line. But that's it. That's just me. So there's a lot of stuff happening. Just so you can kind of see where Bitcoin is up, going down. It had reached well over 100,000, and now it's down like right at 88,000. We've seen Bitcoin, like, I remember when it was at 9,000, we were like, oh my gosh. That was like maybe 2015, 2016ish, or I don't know. All those years kind of run together. But it seemed like it shot up, but then it drastically plummeted and everybody was selling. You know, it's tough to gauge Bitcoin because it goes with the whales. The whales that own Bitcoin kind of determine what's happening, and they buy a bunch and then they sell off. Meanwhile, the little guy like you and me who wants to get in the game and have some crypto. I mean, I try to get some crypto out there. Out of them all, Bitcoin is the gold of the future, you know? So that's what I would say. So I'm very hesitant to sell, but I'm not a day trader. I'm definitely not a day trader. I don't have the heart for it. I don't think I could be a day trader. In other news, Dan Crenshaw, I don't know if you saw this. We're going to take a look at what he said. I got caught on a hot mic after an interview, and he was asked about his views on Tucker Carlson. You know, this is off the record, but it seems like if you were in the public office or any position that is out there, you know, you're a public figure. You're never off the record. I mean, personal citizen is, you know, they can be off the record or whatever, but a public office representative, whatever, they got to be ready every second of the day. You know, they cannot let their guard down. There's too many hot mics. There's too many hidden cameras and all that. And Dan Crenshaw got caught in the crossfire. And let's just take a look what he said.
Have you ever met Tucker?
So there it is. So you couldn't really hear it if you're just listening, but he said, have you ever met Tucker? What did you think of him? And then Dan Crenshaw, like thinking he's not even being heard by anybody else, says, if I find him, I'll F and kill him. I don't know how you could not like Tucker Carlson. I do not understand that one bit, but obviously he's got some beef with them. You got to be careful what you say. And to say something about Tucker, you got to be aware, like, that people it's going to get out, you know? And I mean, I think ultimately, if we're willing to say it out loud, I think I think it needs to be said. And I don't think he really cares. I don't think Dan Crenshaw would care that people heard it. I mean, you wouldn't say it unless you wanted it to, in the inkling of your mind, to get out there and somehow, you know, like he has to know, he obviously knows that he's just done with an interview and this happens, and then he says that quickly. But why you would not dislike Tucker Carlson, I do not get it. Does anyone else out there not like Tucker Carlson? I think when he was at Fox, I think people could, you know, because people just immediate distaste for Fox. But Tucker now, he's got his own gig, his own thing. He was, let go at Fox, and everything he says is gold. I think everything Tucker says is gold. You know, I guess it's all a part of how you say things. A lot of the times is how you say things. But like Tucker is not shy away from being bold and having an opinion, and he voices that very clearly. In other news, Lester Holt and Reid and for different reasons. Lester Holt, he's kind of at the end of his game. You know, he wants to kind of move on to greener pastures, and just he's done. He's put his time in. Reid, on the other hand, it seemed like she was, you know, it was a decision from the top. It says you need to step down, and they They cut her. You know, a lot of people are jumping up and down and thrilled and all that about Joy Reid. I get that. You know, I didn't study too much up on Joy Reid. I don't think I watched one of her shows. All I would ever see was clips of her, and it seemed like the things she would say, that would make you hold your nose a little bit. For me, you know, like I couldn't, some of the opinions she had was tough for me. It was definitely tough for me. And I can get why people are thrilled that she is no longer there. She was at MSNBC for a while now, you know, and she had a megaphone for a long time. Every time somebody gets let go, it seems like something better can come along. So it was her time to get out. You know, we can look at it as like, yay, she doesn't have that position anymore. But for her, it might be a blessing. It might be a blessing. You know, you might have been there where you weren't going to make as much of an impact for your cause and for your beliefs and all that. So maybe for her, it can be a good thing. You know, there's a bright side to we are all humans. We are all people. So, I mean, her getting let go, I hope I don't ever get to the point where I am thrilled that somebody gets fired. I don't ever want to be that type of person, because no matter how much money you think they got or how much, you know, publicity or how fame they have, they're still a person, you know? So maybe for her, this can be a better way forward, and maybe her to check some of her positions, you know? And I think the people that are on the other side, if we extend grace to her, maybe she might extend grace to the opinions she disagrees with, you know? Meanwhile, Bitcoin is just going bananas. I don't know if Bitcoin, that's why I could not ever be like a day trader in Bitcoin. My heart would probably leap out of my chest. I would panic, be in panic mode constantly and stress constantly. That's why, stockbrokers, they got an extra pair of skin, you know, to wear just to be able to get through the day and not, you know, cry every night, you know. I don't know. The news of the day, at least for me, this is what stood out to me, and it was Maitland Ward went on Pod Meets World, which was a spinoff of Boy Meets World, and there was a confrontation with her and Danielle Fishel, who was the well-known, beloved figure Topanga on Boy Meets World. If you all remember Boy Meets World, I grew up on Boy Meets World. The later years, I kind of fell away, and I had to look up, like, what is Ben Savage doing right now? Because he's not a part of this posse anymore. He's kind of left the building. He actually ran for Congress last year. As a Democrat in California, he ran for Congress. He did not win, but I had to look up a video of him going on just some nightly news and talking and telling about his position and what he believes and what he wants to do. I mean, he's the boy that met world. He's a reasonable person. So I can get on board with him. You know, I mean, I don't know if I could vote Democrat, but you know, maybe he could persuade me. I don't know. But so we'll see if his political future is bright. Let's take a look at what Maitland had to say with her in the crossfire between her and Topanga.
You're trying to go at me now to get the ratings because you know that people will be interested in
Maitland.
I don't want to go with you guys. I just want to remember good times.
No, Maitland, sorry. I'm not the one who wanted to go for ratings.
There was some beef between us because I didn't get it.
So there's a lot of storylines happening there, and I know I'm not TMZ. You know, I'm not. Even in that, like I don't think I could be a person that's paparazzi and just following celebs down the street and taking their pictures when they're not ready for it. But this story stood out to me because this story, I love Boy Meets World, and anybody out there that is a 90s boy, you know, born in the 80s, obviously born in 1985, but I am a 90s boy. I love the 90s and everything about it. You know, that was when times were great. The shows were fire. The shows were awesome. Boy Meets World was one of them, you know. TGIF, if anybody out there remembers TGIF and the shows that were on there, you know, I don't know if we're ever going to come back to such a wholesome time, a show that is teaching lessons, you know, like, and I don't know if everybody wants to, I mean, we progress as a society, you know, it's not Andy Griffith, you know, days anymore. We're you know, it's not I Love Lucy anymore, but like, this is how it is now. But I can remember simpler times. I can remember when times were pretty dang sweet. And a fond memory for me was definitely Boy Meets World. and Maitland going on there. So there was some controversy. So she was in the later episodes when they kind of got a little bit older. Corey had grown up, Eric was the funniest freaking dude ever. He was the guy. And if you look at kind of his story and how they started him out in the show, and he brought that comedic relief to some of the more serious moments on the show. There were serious moments on Boy Meets World. We saw him meet world. I mean, he grew up from a little kid that long. We don't have shows like that are that long where you see them from a little kid growing up to becoming an adult, going to college and like that. The Simpsons. I mean, they're a different deal in themselves, and they don't grow up. They stay the same age. The story was always Topanga and Corey, and Maitland, who came on the show, I would say later on. I wasn't really in tune with what was happening at that time period, like the later years, especially. Those aren't emblazoned on my memory as the younger ones, but I do remember her. And she came back to a show that I keep calling her Topanga, Danielle Fishel. I would never have thought that was her name, but I just knew her as Topanga. She had a Girl Meets World in the mid 2015-ish, and like a spinoff of it. And there was some bad blood between Danielle and Maitland coming to that show. And it is completely a matter of perspective, because if you see Maitland's vantage point and you see Danielle's vantage point, they're completely different. That's why you can have an encounter with somebody and have life with them, and they are seeing it through a different lens than you. Because Danielle, who was Topanga, she thought they had a great relationship. She thought when she was on the show that she was nice to her. Everything was great. But Maitland just came at it and she said, you completely just ignored me. You defriended me on Facebook, which, I mean, who hasn't been there? Who hasn't been defriended on Facebook? But it's, and Danielle was like, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how we're not friends on Facebook anymore. I didn't do it, but she's like, she seriously doesn't understand what went down. She did not see things through the same lens perspective that Maitland has it. Maitland she went into the adult film industry. So I don't know if that had anything to do with what was going on, or just like, she just was on a way different path than Danielle. So this heated argument that came on, I had been following this Pod Meets World, podcast by these guys it's everyone but Corey. It's everyone but Ben Savage who's not there, pretty much. And they're running the show. You should check out their podcast. It's pretty good. I need to watch some more or listen to it, I didn't really find them on YouTube. I looked for them on YouTube and I didn't see too much. I don't know if they're really not uploading stuff to YouTube, because the latest stuff was from years ago, but their podcast is running strong. They might have exclusive deals with Apple or iHeartRadio or something like that, because I did not really see what they were putting out there on YouTube. It did not stand out to me. But this was very interesting to me, and it is a matter of perspective. So it's maybe take a step back and think about how are other people seeing your relationship with them? The people that you encounter every day, can you put yourself in their shoes? You might think everything's great and wonderful, but they might want to kill you. They might be disgusted by you, and something I recently learned is everybody wants to be liked, I like to be liked. I need to be liked. I have to be liked. But the best way to be liked is to like and love everybody. Like and love everybody. Crazy like and love them. Overboard like people. The people that you encounter every day. I mean, you say you don't naturally like somebody, like them more than ever. Like them more than ever, and just show them how much you like them. Be just a crazy fanatic person, just restraining order type of maybe not that far. But like them, and that will make people like and love you so much more. So that's just food for thought, something to think about. And you should check out that Boy Meets World, Pod Meets World podcast. And we'll see where this saga, this narrative, this storyline goes with Danielle and Maitland. There's a lot more to it. You should go check it out. And all right, we'll leave it at that.